I'm Gretchen Schott, and this is Made for Impact, a show for leaders who want to leave a lasting impact on their organizations, their teams, and their lives. As the leadership professor, I would like to talk about problem solving and the concept of processing versus dwelling. I was working with a coaching client earlier this week, and she talked about this issue that she was working on and talked about the idea of dwelling versus processing. And it got me thinking that that's something we should be talking about. So I want to first talk about what is dwelling versus what is processing. And I want you to be thinking about this in the context of, let's look at a relationship that you're unhappy with in your life. It could be something in your personal life. It could be something at work, but I want you to think about a relationship that you're not happy with. And are you dwelling on the problem in this relationship, or are you processing the problem that's in this relationship, right? So when we think about dwelling, I think of dwelling as an individual that's languishing or venting or repeating, just continually talking and talking about a problem. And every time they talk about the problem, all the feelings that they have come forward. Maybe they were sad and they were hurt and they're telling you about it again, and they're still sad and they're still hurt. And it's the same story over and over. Or maybe you are that person talking to someone else, and every time you tell this story, you're feeling that same feeling all the time. You just keep dwelling on it and you can't move past it. That's dwelling. Processing is different. Processing is recognizing your emotions in that situation, experiencing them and actually feeling them and making a plan or a strategy to move forward. So processing is moving forward. Dwelling is being stuck and kind of holding that in, right? I heard once someone talked about the idea of gossiping, and gossiping is when you are keeping that energy back and forth and someone else is taking, you're keeping all that energy here between you versus proactively sharing, right? You're releasing that energy to move forward. Same idea here. Dwelling is you keep that energy and just keep reliving it and experiencing it over and over and over again. Processing it is experiencing it to release it and move on. And so how do we come up with strategies to do that, right? So I think the first step in kind of processing is acknowledging that feeling, that emotion that you have. I'm mad, or I'm angry, or I'm sad. And actually saying what it is, claiming that. Because a lot of times we might just say, I'm just really upset about that. But are you upset? What is that? Are you upset? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you just mad and raging? What is it, right? And then after you claim what that emotion is, how is that physically affecting your body? Is your chest tight? Are your hands shaking? Is your face getting red? Do you have a headache? What is the emotion and the feeling physically going on in your body? And then acknowledging that, taking a breath, right? And then asking, what do I have of control here? And where do I have influence? And what, more importantly, is out of my control? So am I dwelling on things that are out of my control? And how can I gain control? What am I in control of? I'm in control of myself. So what can I do with myself to gain control? If I'm so mad and I'm gritting my teeth and I'm making my fists, I can control. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to unground my fists. I'm going to stop clenching my teeth. I'm going to put my hand on my chest and regulate my breathing. If I'm sad, maybe you need to stop trying to hold back those tears. Let the tears come through. It actually is more stressful for your body to hold in tears and actually just release them. Releasing tears can be tension, right? So actually ask yourself, what do I have of control here? And gain some self-control in that. Where do I have influence? And what is out of my control? And then establish a plan to address what's happening and exploring and validating the truth in that, right? That might mean that I'm mad at myself because I didn't handle the situation well, and actually I'm embarrassed. And so maybe the strategy is you need to go apologize. Maybe you're mad at an individual and you actually just need to establish a reasonable boundary and communicate that boundary with that individual, right? So what is your plan to move forward? And so you can finally move forward. That's processing. So this is an exercise that you can do with yourself when you're in that situation. It's also an exercise that you can do with people that you're coaching and someone that's really struggling in a relationship. I talked about this a little bit on a call with some women. I'm a part of an executive women's group, and we were talking about a whole bunch of different things. And I gave this metaphor in that call, and a bunch of the women there said, "Oh my gosh, that's so helpful. That's so helpful." So I'm going to share, because I like to use metaphors sometimes to help us really take in concepts. And so in this idea of solving a problem, specifically with a relationship maybe that's making you unhappy, I've used the metaphor of a China doll. I have a relationship in my life that is frustrating to me and can be disappointing to me. And so when I think about that individual, I think about them as like a China doll. And a China doll is something that's very precious, very fragile. You need to be careful with it. And it's also something that generally just sits inside like a beautiful China cabinet. And so when I'm taking the China doll out of the cabinet and I'm with the China doll, I recognize that I need to be gentle. I need to be thoughtful. I need to be caring, because I don't want to crack this China doll. I don't want to break it. But when we're done interacting, I can go put it right back up in the cabinet where it's safe. Something that I've had to learn in a relationship that's been frustrating to me is loving people for who they are and not for what I want them to be. Letting go of being disappointed in what I want that person to be for me or to me, and simply being present to who they are has helped me immensely in solving problems in relationships. Being present to how I can best listen to that person, how to respond and acknowledge them, and leaning into loving them well versus loving them the way that I want to, or the way that I expect them to be. So I am curious if you like this metaphor, and what metaphors do you think would be helpful in processing unhappy or disappointing relationships in your life? I'd love for you to share those with me. And if you do, I will be sure to acknowledge you and talk about it on a future episode. So make sure you tell me what you're thinking. I may have mentioned I have a goal of receiving 200 reviews of this show. So that means I need your help. I probably need about 20 reviews or stars for each episode. So do me a favor, once you're done listening, give us some stars. It helps me get really great guests on the show, and it lets me know what content you like best. Please be sure to follow me on LinkedIn for work stuff and Instagram for personal stuff. I hope that you're liking this content, and I hope it's helping you grow and be a better leader. I hope you love these leadership lessons as your leadership professor. But most importantly, I want you to remember, you are made for impact.